Alright, hello everyone. So this video is going to be pretty short because there's really only one character to talk about in this video, and the important things here are, once again, make sure you pull for your waifu, pull for your dom reasons, and also pull for fun. But the upcoming banner also kind of fits every single one of these lines over here. So I think that this banner is going to make them a humongous amount of money because both sides will just super enjoy this team comp that we are about to get. Right, so this is going to be Klukai. Klukai is going to be one of our strongest DPSs in the entire game. Very strong AoE DPS. With also more vertebrae, she becomes a very powerful single target DPS as well. That's why she's considered one of the greatest characters in the entirety of this game. Lore-wise, she's also a very powerful character. So yeah, Corrosion, she's going to be the main character for Corrosion. In fact, it's basically Klukai's team. It's not even just Corrosion team. It's just Klukai's team, and she does Corrosion, so the Corrosion team is put under her, basically. Mekti is very important for the Klukai team, and Peria is also very important. Yes, Peria. Peria is because she does follow-up attacks when AoE happens, and Klukai is a Grenadier and AoE character. Mekti makes Peria's damage into Corrosion, and that Corrosion damage will help to reduce the Klukai ultimate cooldown, and Klukai with more vertebrae gets a lot of crazy shit with her ultimate, like when you do corrosion damage, you reduce the cooldown of your ult, and also when you hit multiple targets, you reset your ult, so you can use your ult again. So yeah, Klukai with vertebrae becomes insanely strong. That's why people recommend you to go for big vertebrae with this Klukai character. And for the last two slots over here, just throw in any healer or any other DPS that you want to throw into if you don't need a healer for the specific fight. Ksenia is good because of the attack buffs, that's why she's put over here, but if you want, just throw in a Suomi, and Suomi will just make you immortal anyway, right? So this is going to be the team comp that you want to build for Klukai. Next, you're going to want to get Planeta if you're going to go to V3 or below, and then you want to go V4 onwards, feel free to pick up the Scylla weapon instead. But since a lot of us probably are small spenders instead of the whales, right, then you might as well get a Planeta first, because this is also Tololo's best in slot gun, so you might as well pick this up first for now, and then later on you can go and pick up the Scylla if you have extra resources and the Klukai banner is being rerun, right? So next one is just to make sure you know how much pulls you actually need in order to pull the characters. This list over here, just look at the 75% to 90% area if you want to get a more guaranteed amount of pulls for 1 copy or 2 copies or 3 copies and so on and so forth. If you want to get V6, for example, you need about 600 something pulls in order to basically guarantee. It's not really super fully guaranteed, but it's almost fully. It's 90% chance to get it. If you still don't get it, then I'm sorry, but you have to go all the way to 700 plus already, right? But most of the time, I think you just end up here. You won't go this far, right? Anyway, in my case, I will be trying for V3 because I really like Klukai. I think she's a waifu. So I'm definitely going to try for this thing. But if it takes a lot of resources and I would have maybe 120-ish pulls for Mekti later on, then I definitely will not pull any further than that. Why? Because Klukai is going to rerun anyway. So if I have to, I can just come back later to pick up whatever copies I need later on. So really, there's no FOMO here in this game, really. Like, you can just get the character later, and it's pretty damn fast also, because we're getting an accelerated banner, right? So yeah, basically, just make sure you have enough to guarantee the Mekti, because you really do want the Mekti later on, because without her, then you don't really get a very good cooldown reduction on the Klukai ultimate. That's of course assuming you're getting the vertebrae, because I believe that cooldown reduction part is in vertebrae 2, if I remember correctly, right? So that one's going to be quite important. And then after that, now we have the big talk about V6, V3 or V0, and I have a few things to talk about for these cases here. V0 is basically if you're just a collector and you want to collect other high value targets later on, right? Don't have enough resources and I want to collect my V3 Cheongju, collect my V1 Vector, Springfield V1 and Doris V1, because these are all very major power spikes for the character, right? So you still want to save some resources for these characters, and if you are pulling Klukai, you still have to pull for Mekti, so also must save resources for those characters. So the V0 is a considerable amount already for some F2P or people who are low spenders in order to get this Klukai, because you want to collect other waifus later on. Right, so this is going to be the one I recommend if you are going to aim for waifus. Also, if you don't care about PvP and you only care maybe about Gunsmoke. The reason being is that even if you have a V0 Klukai, there's usually one guild member who's going to get the V3 or the V6 for you. So you might as well borrow his one and not use your one, right? Just to save yourself the hassle of going for a V3 or V6 in terms of burning the resources. Just let someone else do the pulling for you, right? I have one friend who's definitely going to go for the V6 Klukai, 100%. I got actually like 3-4 4 friends who are going to do it. So that means I have my own pick of Klukai for anything story related, and then after that in my guild I also have one person doing a V6, so that means I can just borrow, which means that I don't actually need to go for the V6. But the other one to consider here is going to be PvP. You cannot borrow a unit in PvP, so that means that if you do want to do some shenanigans with Klukai in PvP for wiping out enemy teams and whatnot with the Klukai ultimate, then you will need to also invest in your own vertebrae over here. So that's why if you want to go for PvP, or you want to be the guy giving everyone else the V6 Klukai or V3 Klukai, then feel free to go for the vertebrae. Otherwise, for me, I'll aim for V3 because my waifu, so I'll just go ahead and pull for her. And if I don't use her in the Gunsmoke, then I don't really give a shit because she's still my waifu, right? And I'll use her in the PvP if I ever wanted to just go in and just press the ulti button a bunch of times. Right, so that's my logic here for going for V3, V6, V0. The last bit of logic here is definitely going to be if you want to use a stopping point, right? Because V6 off the bat is really expensive. But if you want to go for V3 first and then later go for V6 or attempt to, then yeah, that also works out pretty well. Because like I said before, the banner will rerun, right? So if you can't get all the way to V6, then just stop somewhere. V3 is a pretty okay stopping point. If you can't, then just stop there like V2 for now. And then later on get the V3 at the next banner, and then after that V6 at the next banner. You can totally still get her, don't need to get it right now. There's no content to really like do it, you know. Someone else is going to get the V6 Klukai for you anyway, because everyone is going to be aiming for this character. So you don't have to rush for it, just get it at your own acceptable pace, and then after that, just borrow the whale's money in order to win your content, whether it be Gunsmoke or for your stages, right? So that's going to be it really for this video here. Nothing much else to talk about. Klukai is just a straight up amazing waifu who is also a very, very powerful DPS. So yeah, it's just going to be a very, very rich banner for Mika. Mika's going to make so much money off this banner. Right, so that's going to be it. If I missed out anything, feel free to let me know in the comments, and I shall see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.